Welcome back to the Mowing in the Dark podcast. I am your host, Ariens Sutter. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. Guys, it is so gorgeous outside here in Michigan today. Actually, it's going to be gorgeous all week. We're going to be in the 70s all week this week. It's beautiful. The grass is green. It's growing. It's just beautiful outside. So I've been doing spring cleanups. I have about half of them done or so now. I did 3 today. I've got 9 more to do this week, maybe 10. There's some big ones in there. So I've got some spring cleanups left to do this week, and we're just getting started here in Michigan. We're just getting the ball rolling. Some of you guys have been mowing for a month now. So, I mean, congratulations on that. We are just getting rolling here in Michigan, but it's been really nice. Today was beautiful. It was wonderful to be outside working and getting those cleanups done. It was really nice. But anyway, guys, I want to talk to you guys today about prepay billing. I have talked to you about this before on the podcast, but it's been a while and we have a lot of new listeners, so I want to hit it again. Prepay billing for lawn care specifically is a really good option if you don't want to put cards on file. Even if you do want to put cards on file, it's still a really good option. And I want to talk to you about that right after we get into the show sponsor. As a lawn care provider, do you want to make a year-round income? Are you worried at the end of the lawn care season because you don't know how you're going to make it through the winter? Then you need to check out the 12-month contract from mowinginthedarkpodcast.com. This is the same contract that I use to make my own year-round income. This 100% editable 12-month contract is available for only $5.99. The contract has rock-solid terms and conditions so that you're protected from all kinds of liability in lawn maintenance and snow removal. Get your 12-month contract at mowinginthedarkpodcast.com today. All right, so prepay billing. I first got into prepay billing about 6 years ago now, probably, because this is my 9th year in business. So about 6 years ago, I switched to prepay billing. I was having a lot of problems with people not paying their bill. And most of this was new clients who would come on. And this was when I was living in downtown Lansing. I was getting a lot of work in some shady parts of the city. And people would call me out for a cleanup. I'd do the cleanup, and then they would ghost me. I would call. No one would pick up the phone. I'd email. No one would be able to email back. I would text. Nothing. And the amount wasn't super high. Like it was like $200, $250. Well, you're not going to get that back if you're going to, litigation or whatever. If you're going to try to sue this person to get that money back, you're just going to fork out more money. And so I decided, you know what? I've got to do something. And so I decided, you know what? I'm going to charge people before I do the work. I'm going to bill them a month in advance. And so I started doing it for everyone, commercial and residential. And I have since shifted and gone back to getting paid after the work is done for commercial. And for those clients that have cards on file, I will bill them after the work is done. But if you don't want a card on file, and you're not on a 12-month contract or anything like that, you just want the lawn care pretty much, I bill you a month in advance. And there's a couple reasons for this. One, so I don't get ripped off. Now, all my clients, I trust them. I trust my clients to pay their bills. All right? We have enough history that I trust them to pay their bill. However, I don't trust new people coming on. And they don't really trust me. And it's hard. This is hard. I will admit it's hard to get someone to sign on to prepay billing when you don't have a history, and when they're trusting me to show up and do the work, all right? And I'm trusting them to pay the bill. But I don't do the work if the bill isn't paid. I can't. I explain to them, look, I do prepay billing because if I show up and I do this work and I don't get paid and you don't pay the bill, I have no recourse to get this money back. Now, sure, I could get you to pay the bill, sure, out of principle, but I'm not making any money. None. And my goal in business is to make money, not to just get people to pay their bill so that I can pay an attorney or court fees or whatever. That's not my goal. My goal is to make money. And so with that, that's why I went to prepay billing. And so I explain that to clients, new people that are coming on, and they get it. And so I haven't had a ton of pushback on that. And so they'll pay their invoice, and I will let them know, hey, I'm going to come on this date. And in their invoice, I put the date of service. So I itemize when I'm going to come. So let's say it's April 15th, all right? And I put April 15th on their invoice, and I put the amount, and I just go down the list weekly and put that all on there. They can see when I'm going to come. And if I don't show up, that's a problem, right? That's why I'm huge on communication. This trained me to communicate because I don't want customers feeling like I'm not going to show up and do the work that I said I was going to do. This has gotten me a large word of mouth following because I do what I say I'm going to do. Why? Because I'm held accountable because they've already paid their bill. I'm held responsible and accountable. If I don't show up and do the work, my reputation is trash, right? If I was doing billing after the fact and I didn't show up and do the work, no harm, no foul, right? Because, hey, my contractor didn't show up. I might get some bad press about that, word of mouth wise. But ultimately, they didn't pay the bill. There was no harm, no foul. But if they pay the bill and I don't show up to do the work, that's a whole different story. So I'm taking a huge risk by having them pay that bill ahead of time. But that's telling, with all the reviews that I have out there, all the social media stuff that I have out there, it's telling them that they can trust my word, that I'm going to show up and do the work. And I do. And so that's why I have been able to build such a huge trust with my clients. If there's a rain delay, if I'm delayed even half a day, I let the clients know that I am delayed. If I'm rained out that day, even though they can look out the window and see that it's raining, I let them know. I communicate that, hey, it's raining. I can't come today. That builds trust with them so that they know that I am still planning to come. I'm not taking their money and running. I am going to do the work. All right. Now there's a couple of things you want to think about. If you're thinking about doing prepay billing, it's tough. I'm just gonna say that it's tough from a business owner standpoint, and it's tough from the client standpoint. You've got to be confident and know that you will show up and do the work. And if you're not, if you're going to be delayed or whatever, you've got to know yourself and know that you will contact them and say, I can't be there today. You have to communicate if you're going to do prepay billing. Otherwise, you have no trust. You have no credibility. You have nothing to stand on. Your word is crap at that point. Because if you're doing prepay billing and, oh, it's raining outside, I'm just going to take the day off and twiddle my thumbs and not talk to my clients, they lose faith in you. They lose trust in you because you're not there when you said you were going to be there. And you're silent And so they feel like, great, this guy's going to run and take my money. You've got to communicate. I cannot stress this enough. If you're going to do prepay billing, you have to communicate. Now, communication in business in general is a very important thing. All right, you have to communicate in business in general, but especially if you're going to do prepay billing. It is the top of importance, because they're paying your bills. You got to communicate. So, a couple of pitfalls that you could fall into with prepay billing. All right, a couple of things to think about before switching to this. All right, number one, when it comes to spring cleanups, for spring cleanups and fall cleanups, I charge after the work is done. And here's why. Because you never really know how long it's going to take, especially with spring cleanups. All right, I do my fall cleanups a little bit different. I do the billing a little bit different than most people, so that's a little different. But spring cleanups, it's different. Okay, now I only do spring cleanups for my clients. I don't take on spring cleanups from anybody else. And here's why. I talked about this in an episode just a couple episodes back. Because I don't want to have to deal with leaves that were blown into a pile and just left. And now they're sopping wet. And this person wants me to clean them up and make their lawn look nice. When really, if I clean them leaves up, they're going to have a big old dead spot in their lawn. And it's just going to look like crap. And I don't want to deal with that stuff. I don't. And so I don't take on on people that are not my clients. I don't do it for spring cleanup. I just don't. We get a lot of people around here that just leave their leaves on the ground and expect them to be cleaned up in the spring. I don't do it. I won't. I hate it. I've done it in the past. I hate it. It's the worst thing in the world to me. So I don't do spring cleanups for anybody else but my clients, because I know that they had a great fall cleanup. All right. I know that it was taken care of. And I know that it's going to be a very light, easy spring cleanup. I could do 5 spring cleanups in a day if I wanted to. Because by myself, solo, because there's not that much to do. It's just picking up sticks. Maybe I have to rake the lawn to get a lot of these little sticks up. But by and large, I can be done with a spring cleanup in an hour and a half by myself. That's blowing out all the beds. That's mulching up all the leaves. That's picking up all the sticks. I can be in and out in an hour and a half on a spring cleanup, because I know that I did a great job on a fall cleanup. So they don't need much in the spring. In fact, some clients, they don't even ask for a spring cleanup anymore, because on that first mow, when I show up, inevitably, I'll probably just blow out the beds. If they're not that bad, I'll just blow them out real quick. Takes 5 minutes, and I'll mulch it up when I mow. And I don't even charge them for that, because it's inconsequential to me. And so when you're doing the prepay billing, it can be difficult to do that. That's why I bill after the fact for spring cleanups for my clients only. Now, that can be a problem if you're trying to prepay for spring cleanups. Because if you don't do fall cleanups like I do, then you could have a big mess on your hand for spring cleanups. And so you got to know your numbers, know what you want to charge, and charge that. But if you show up, you're charging $500 for a spring cleanup, and you're one guy, and it takes you 15 minutes to do a spring cleanup, in my opinion, that you are ripping off your clients. All right, if you're doing that, that's a rip off. You're there for 15 minutes, and you charge them $500. That's a rip off, guys. Don't do that. So that's why I charge after the fact, because I want to know how much time I put in for a spring cleanup. And for spring cleanups, I charge $60 an hour. All right. Now, my clients don't know that. It's just what I charge. All right. So after the fact, I charge them. If I'm there an hour, I charge them $60. If I'm there for 30 minutes, I charge them $60, because That's my minimum for a spring cleanup. And so that's how I do it. But I bill after the fact for spring cleanup. If you decide that you want to prepay for spring cleanups, you got to know your numbers. You got to know exactly how long that thing's going to take. I mean, you don't have to know exactly, but in order to not lose money, you're going to have to be pretty precise with your numbers, all right? Or inflate it a little bit, all right? Now, you're also going to run into some things during the summer. It gets hot here in July, and lawns start to dry out and burn out in some cases. And so we're skipping weeks. So how do I do that? How do I calculate that? Well, I calculate 25 cuts in a season. Now, we actually have 28 cuts in a season, but because I expect to take 2 weeks of vacation, I expect 1 week of burnout. And so at least that's what I calculate. Now, we could have 3 weeks of burnout, but they are only getting 1 week of burnout, okay? Because over the years, this will even out, all right? And so a lot of times I'll do a little extra things for my clients anyway. And so it all evens out. So that could be a problem for you. You got to know, and your client's got to be able to see what you're doing, what you're charging, okay? That's why I itemize my invoices for lawn mowing. I put the dates on there of when I'm going to come, all right? Because that way they can see when I'm going to come. They expect me. I'm there. I show up. I'm reliable, and they know that I'm going to do the work, all right? And yes, I have had a little bit of pushback on the lawns are dry. You know, we all hear this. The lawns are dry. Can you skip me this week? And I'll say, sure, I can skip you. Those that are on a 12-month contract, I don't skip. I mean, I skip, but they're still, if they've already used up one burnout day, that's all they get. And then they're going to pay for the rest. However, if they're not on a 12-month contract, I will skip them if they ask me to, and I will not charge them. However, this creates a problem, doesn't it? Because you're doing prepay by a month ahead, right? So let's say we're going into May, or April 1st rolls around. I send out invoices for May 1st, all right? For the month of May. That's how I do it, just to be clear. So this creates a problem because they've already paid for the lawn care you're doing right now. So what I do is I say, okay, well, I'll just credit that forward to your next invoice. So they've already paid for this one, which I'm skipping. So on their next invoice, and I print out my papers from Yard Book, my routes. That way I can make notes. So if I skip someone, I say burned out, skipped. All right. And then when I go to do my invoices for the next month, I will still put the date that I'm going to come, because you still have to come that day, right? Because you skipped now. So you're looking ahead. So now you put in there the date you're going to come. Lawn mowing, I put lawn mowing and the date. But in the money column, the price column, it's 0. I call that a credit. It's just pushing that money forward to that next week. And that's how I do it. So yes, it can be confusing. You have to know that up front, that prepay billing can get confusing. But your clients, if you choose to go this way, do get used to it. They get used to it. And in fact, when October rolls around, October is the last month that I do lawn care. And so when October 1st comes and they don't receive an invoice for November, because I'm finishing up in October, a lot of them will contact me and be like, "Hey, I didn't get an invoice this month." And I'm like, "Well, that's because you already paid for it." And they enjoy that. They like that, because it's like, oh, I paid for it. That's right. We're on prepay billing. I like this. I get my October before the holidays. I get to save some money. They like it. Can it get confusing? Absolutely. It can. It's my recommendation that if you're going to try to do prepay billing, that you either put everyone on prepay billing or you put no one on prepay billing, because it can get very, very convoluted if you don't have it straight in your mind. All right? Because you're dealing with all your clients. Your client is just dealing with themselves, right? So they just have very little to think about when it comes to your billing. You have a lot to think about as a business owner. So it's important that if you're going to do prepay billing, you better switch to it the whole thing to it. And that's what I did. And now I've gotten away from that because I offer different things. I offer a 12-month contract. You guys heard the ad earlier. If you want that 12-month contract, head over to the mowinginthedarkpodcast.com. You can buy it there for $5.99. I know the ad makes it sound like $599. It's not. It's $5.99. It's cheap. Cheap. I could be charging a lot more for this, but I want it to get into your hands because this contract is revolutionizing my business. As more people come on board on the 12-month contract, they see the value in paying all 12 months the same amount. They pay the same amount every month, and they really enjoy that. It's like paying a cell phone bill. It doesn't change. It stays the same until the renewal date, when you inevitably raise the price a little bit and it goes up a little bit. That's fine. So I would encourage you to go check that out because it is valuable. It is valuable to me. I had a bunch more come on to the 12-month contract this year. They enjoy it. They like it. They like the stability of it. And it locks me in and it locks them in. I can't just drop them. Now, of course, I can drop them if I want to, but I feel locked in. And I like having 12 months of income. So I have year-round income. And they pay as the same price all year round. That May doesn't come around where there's 5 weeks in the month and they don't have a whole bunch more money to pay. It's the same. Even for snow, they pay the same. And so it just works. It works so well. So I really encourage you to check that out. But prepay billing, now that I'm doing all these different things with the 12-month contract, with credit cards on file, I decided this year, you know what? It's really easy to get people to sign up with credit card on file if you give them two options. One, if you put a credit card on file, you can pay at the end of the month after the work is done. Or if you don't want to put a credit card on file, you have to prepay a month in advance. A lot of people will go to the card on file, which is great. I love having cards on file because it's just a click. You just click it and it's done. It's beautiful. And so that's how I push people towards cards on file. Not all my customers are card on file, but the ones that are, this year, they're getting paid, or they're paying after the work is done. The others are paying before the work is done. And it's a good mix. It's a good mix because the prepayers help me get started in the year with that cash flow. The afterpayers help me finish out the year with that cash flow. And the 12-month contract people help me out the whole year because of the cash flow. I've got cash flow coming from all angles. So the prepayers, I see them on one side, on the north. I see the afterpayers on the south, and I see the 12-monthers in the Midwest or the West East, and it's just a circle. And it just keeps that cash flow going. So there are some good pros to to prepay billing. But there's also some cons, and I explained them as best as I could there. Fall cleanup, I do differently. Now, I am doing a more traditional fall cleanup this year with my billing. In years past, when I would go and mow the lawn in October, I would just add on a leaf mulching fee, because I mulch 99% of my leaves. So just add on a leaf mulching fee. And it's a little bit more than the regular mowing price. But this year, I decided, you know what? I'm not making as much money as I should be with leaf cleanups. So I'm going to charge a one lump sum for leaf cleanups. And we'll just go from there. And so that's what I'm doing this year. But I will charge after the fact for those leaf cleanups. However, I'm still going to mulch those leaves all through the fall. They're just going to get a one lump sum invoice this year instead of charging every month. So that's how I'm going to do that, and they will be charged after the fact for that. But I can do that. I feel comfortable to do that because I have that relationship, that rapport with my clients. You might not have that. So you may have to charge prepay for fall cleanups. It's just what kind of relationship you have with your clients. So guys, that is it for this one. If you have any questions about prepaid billing, anything at all, let me know your experience. If you have experience with prepaid billing, let me know in the comments below. If you're watching on Rumble or on YouTube, let me know in the comments below, or send me a message on Facebook or Instagram letting me know your experience with prepaid billing. All right, guys, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this was helpful. I hope this got you thinking in certain ways about prepaid billing. Maybe it's for you, maybe it's not. It's not for everybody, but it works. And yes, there's some challenges with it, but there's also challenges with after pay billing, whatever you want to call it, post work billing, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. So it's just different strokes for different folks. And it's okay to run your business differently than the guy down the street. All right, guys, thanks for listening, and I will see you in the next episode.